brilliant. That, with a bit of luck, looks like I might have gone live. It always takes a little bit to catch up with everything. So let's see where we're up to. And if anyone's going to join us. It's always good, isn't it? Okay, let's come out of there. It was quite slow catching up. Have I gone live in the event rather than on my dashboard in my own page? Who knows when it comes to Facebook? Hi Martin. Right, let me climb into here. Let's find it on there. Let's pick up into there. Pick up into there. Share that to my page, so hopefully that's sorted. Sorry ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it's Facebook does it is a rule unto itself, isn't it? You know, it's just designed to drive everyone doolally fit. There we are, what with technology and supermarkets and the rest of it the other day. So good afternoon Martin, hello Joan, good afternoon Jill, hi Jan, hi Lynn. Could someone just tell me you can hear and see me all right, because I have everything switched off so that I'm not getting a double echo, and I think I might have to treat myself to some new ones of those at some point. But hey ho, here we are. So we're going to follow on from the book that I made last week, and we're going to decorate the cover, and we're going to do the inside back cover, and we'll stop at about hour and a half. Thank you Lynn, that's lovely. It's, as I say, it's not always guaranteed when with technology. I know my limitations. So we are going to have a little bit of a play. We've got some paints, so I'm using Stamperia paints. I didn't bother checking whether they were the ones that actually went with the Woodland collection. These have been around. You can see the acrylic medium separating, and that's what happens. So I have just cast some mushrooms from the collection, and these are cast with amazing casting resin because it cures nicely, and then I have primed them with a Pentart bonding primer. It's thinner than a gesso paste, so, and that's what works for me. Hi Deirdre, welcome my darling. So let's just have a little bit of a play, and we're going to do a simple process. We're not into being difficult because life is quite simply too short. So as I say, these are resin pieces that I have primed with some bonding primer. Hi Laurie, welcome. And then we're just going to have a goodly white back, because I'm thinking that a little bit of a white back should give me sort of old aged effects, and I can always add some dry brushing. So literally just some wet acrylic and wipe it back off the surface, and I think that works pretty effectively, doesn't it? For that we'll do some of them. I've got several shades of the browns out from Stamperia, but they do lots of different ones. So there we are, just fill that all in, and then we can just literally wipe back off the surface and back till the colour up. Thank you Deirdre. Yeah, we have had a haircut and actually a colour as well, so that will work for that. Let's just take that off there. You can see I'm going to have mucky hands. I can always add some white dry brushing onto these. I might not want it all in quite the same, so I think that was Earth, the first one that I used. Please feel free to tag anyone. See, we are determined that we're going to use stuff up. I don't really want to be buying more stuff. I've got way too much gubbins, as you might imagine, so this will give us a paler tone, and we're going to add some different colours. So there we are. We can just take these back. So really simple approach, isn't it? You know, wet paint and give it a good scrub and then just wipe it back. So I'm just using the paint to add a little shadow of colour rather than having to do lots of complicated painting, and it's just going to sit in the nooks and the crannies, and that's fine. I do need this baby white is relatively dry, so I've got quite a lot of control over. Let me just shuffle that under there because I can see a bit of mist. So we know my approach to generally to painting resin pieces is that it needs to be effective but not complicated. Yeah, waffle's already been on the move today, so there we are. And that one can have plain on the top. We'll have some ready caps as well, because that's why not. That's what we just have to have, isn't it? There we are. Good afternoon, Jan. I don't think I saw you come in. Hello, Elizabeth. So welcome. So let's just take this. Let's say really simple techniques, just to make life easy and, you know, rather than difficult, but you can still add lots of your texture along the way. And this means I'm not having to get out any solvent based products, though I do have some out and about on my desk for adding my details, but it's just going to give me a hint of colour onto these and show all the detail. So there we are. Let's just mop up all of that brown, pop that in the bin, clean my middle mitts because they're filthy dirty. There we are. A wet baby wipe might help, as opposed to an almost dry one. So get rid of the brown off my hands, and I will of course need that completely dry before I can do anything else. And then we want some contrast, so this is rose. There we are. So then we can, let's just add some red onto here. I like to go for a more solid colour for the red for these pieces, so we might need to add another there, and then we'll add some dry brushing later on. There we are. As I say, these have been primed with bonding primer, which is my go-to primer. There we are. Give those a little blast dry in a minute, and then we can add some white dry brushing to them, or a second layer of the red if that's what I want to do. It's going on a little bit patchy at the moment, and that's okay, but not quite the look I want. So let's just pop that in there, give those a little whiz dry. There we are. And if we can get these pieces out the window, and then we can have these drying whilst I do the inside cover. Okay, and for that we're adding a concertina expandable pocket and some clips and flaps and an accordion booklet, just because they're different and it will just add to the interest of everything. Let me get these dry all the way through, and then we can add another layer, give it a dry, add some dry brushing, which will work. Good afternoon, Anna. Welcome. It's cool, we're picking up the numbers. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's really lovely of you to say. There are lots of very talented people out there. You know, we all have a place, and we all do our own thing. And that's the joy of being able to craft, isn't it? We can do our own things. There we are. So these are say the Stamperia paints, and they tend to not cover quite as well as as my normal pentart ones, but that's fine. We can just add another layer into the mix, and that will be absolutely fine. It'll give the colour, get rid of the streaks and give it an even tone, which is what we want. And never be afraid. You're better off adding a couple of thin layers than trying just to whack on one whacking great big thick layer. You'll just get a claggy mess if you do that. So there we are. That can go there, that can go there. We're just going to give that a little bit of a blitz. Hi Sheila, welcome. Welcome. And we're going to add some dry brushing onto these to highlight the dots. We'll just give this all a good dry, and then we'll add that, and then we're going to add a little bit of varnish because that will help protect them long term. And these I'm just doing as embellishments for the front of my journal. I just thought I'd get this bit of the painting bit done first, then I can have a little clear down and that will work fine. So we're on, as I say, we are definitely on use up what we have, because why not? There we are. We won't need a mountain of that, so let's just pop that over there. It's just white acrylic paint, and that's fine. And then let's just find a nice a flattish brush. So I'm just going to pop white paint into there, pop that into there, tap off a lot of the excess, and then I can just pop this on, pick up the details in, soften some of it down a little bit. There we are. Because it's just nice to be able to do that, and it will just soften, add some light, add some texturing, you know, just changes it up. Might be subtle, and that's fine. There we are. I've never seen a mushroom that's all exactly the same, so there we are. And the key for this is in the name, isn't it? It's dry brushing. It's have relatively small amounts of paint on, so that you've got complete control over how much. Thank you, Miriam, welcome. It's quite early in the States, I think, at the moment, isn't it, because of your time change, but normal services will be resumed time wise, I think, later on. There we are. Let's just add just a little bit of extra detail onto there. There we are. So it's not all flat. It's just picking up the details in that were already in the mould and allowing them to be seen a little bit better than they were otherwise. There we are. So it's quite an effective technique. She says, having almost run out of white paint on the table. There we are. So, yeah, time changes. Never mind, never mind. Won't be very long before we change back for ours. So there we are. Let's just have a little clean up, because that's what we need to do. And we're going to try and keep our test reasonably clutter free, she says. There we are. Scrapers are very useful. Okay, so I'm going to pop those over there, give them a little bit of a blast, and then I can add just some varnish to protect them. And I'm going for a matte varnish, but I need that white paint to be properly dry. But if I hold these up to the camera rather than being miles away, and excuse the mucky hands, then you'll be able to see that I've got all of that detail back into these pieces. So there's the mushroom with the white, here's a different one. So I've got all the details back in that I want without lots of complicated decorating. So if you're going to antique at any stage, then I really suggest that you do add some varnish. I'm using a water soluble one here because I don't need to use anything more complicated, and this is matte, but obviously you know you could use the varnish that you wanted. I might need to add some dry brushing again at the end, but that's also fine. Just don't flood everything so that you lose all of your texture. But this is going to help protect the pieces on the front of the album when they're being handled, and it's just a nice thing to be able to do. If you want them shiny, then obviously use a glossy varnish. If you want them to feel soft, then actually the soft touch varnish will work quite nicely too. Oh, there we are. We've got a closed mushroom there, which we're going to leave without having a red cap, because it could just as easily be a non-red capped mushroom. I'm just giving myself a variety so that I've got interest into my piece. So there we are. But definitely, if you're handling a piece or something's going to be handled, then a layer of varnish is a helpful thing to add onto your pieces. Just take off the excess off that one. I can move it around. Just just give it a little bit more, make it more robust for handling. There we are. Oh, that can go in there. As I say, that's a water soluble varnish, so easy clean up. I've not used any nasty chemicals thus far, and I now just need to give my hand a scrub. Always disconcerting with some pings on the floor. Sounded distinctly metallic, so that's not good. This pack of baby wipes I think is about much use as a chocolate fire guard. It's all but dry. Hey ho! Where's my water? There we are. When all else fails, we'll just add some water from a spray bottle. It's just water in my spray bottles. We can give those a clean. Pop that over there, pop that over there. Those bits can go there. That can tuck out of the way, and then we can pick up the album. Oh! Lots of gubbins. So let's actually, before we end up with too big a pickle, let's just move some of these out so that they're not, well, I'm not going to dangle my work in them while I'm waiting for that to dry. So lots of bits and pieces. So I stick that on the chair behind me, stick that lot on the chair behind me, that lot on the chair behind me. Woohoo! There we are. So last week we constructed the base of this, and then we did our little waterfall piece, which has dried very nicely, adding the rub-ons and paper elements to each of these, so each of my flaps has got that little bit of interest and detail, and we've got a closed mechanism. So a folio has the doesn't have pages, but it still doesn't, yeah, it means you can still fit an awful lot of things in. So let me just move some of this around out the way, and there we are. So let's remind ourselves of the sizes. Oh yes, we always do. We've always done time changes. So this album base was 7 by 10. So my piece of paper should be 6 3/4 by 9 3/4. And this is just a piece cut from the papers, and I'm wanting to add a pocket at the bottom. There we are. So I have cut myself a piece of card. No, we go back and forth, we go forward an hour in the summer. So this piece is 10 inches in its longest dimension, and I've scored it at 1/2 inch, 9 and I think I've got another one. Yeah, so I've scored it at 1/2 inch, and 1.5 inches, 8.5, 9, 9.5. It is 4 inches deep, and I've just scored it so that the pocket depth is going to be 3, so that's at 1 inch, and chopped out the pieces. So it's relatively easy to do, and this is just going to allow me to make a pocket. So how am I going to make the pocket? I'm going to start by attaching this long flap to the bottom of this paper. So there we are. Let's grab some red liner tape because we've got it to hand. So this is going to attach this flat to the bottom, and the wobbly bits at the sides where I've got the scores, the 3 scores at half inch details, are going to give me a pocket that's going to open up, so I can slot bigger things in. Doesn't really matter how much of that goes on with the tape, because I'm actually going to be adding glue to it to pop it onto the page in the first place. So that's going to go there. Let us then do the usual, push it down, push out all of the air. It's just going to make life much easier. If I do that, and then I can pick up with a pokey tool or the end of my knife the red liner tape, get rid of the static, and the state score power would work just as well. And I'm going to pop this, just line that up. Jenga towers are falling. Okay, so that's going to sit like this, and I've got these wobbly bits at the end, but that's fine. We'll worry about what's just jengered onto the floor. There we are. So we'll pop that there. And so there's lots of different ways that you can fill your pieces, your covers. You can add lots of different flats. You could just add another waterfall if that's what you wanted. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I do want this to be reasonably secure on here. We leap back in the summer and we pop back into the winter, and it's designed so that the farmers have more daylight hours in the morning, so that they can get out into the fields. So it's a very old tradition in the UK. So let's just pop that. There we are. Just make sure you have got it braided down properly. There we are. 1, 2, nothing like doing anything like this, is it? There. And one of the headaches, of course, with the red liner tapes is that it's all together just a bit staticky, so you end up with little bits everywhere. Okay. Yeah, I don't know when we started, but it has to say. So if I now pop this over, line those up, she says, oh, I'm not sticking her fingers into that, line that up onto there, hopefully we'll have that reasonably. And I've now got a little pouch here, which means I can stick quite a lot into it, and I haven't got it quite smooth, so let me just realign some of that. That's nicely over there, and we'll push out the excess to that end. There we are. Okay. So if I just pop something into that pocket now, then I'm likely to have a bit of a pickle and stuff falling out, and so I wanted a flap that I could use then to contain it all. So this piece of paper, she says, having put a score where she put a ruler, yeah, it's always good, isn't it, when you can't see your ruler. There we are in front of us. This piece of pet card is 9 inches long. It's scored at 1 inch and 3/4 of an inch. And I can now pop this onto the back of here and then pop it into my album. Because again, it's going to make life easier. Let's put that up to, but not over the crease. I can strengthen this anyway by adding. That would be nice biscuits, would it be, Martin? Your craft room essentials, my darling. There we are. Just give this a little bit of a push down. There we are. Let's take that out of the way because we don't need that. Don't think we need those out there either. That will just give us a bit more room. That can go over there. And I can now pick that back up. That can go over there. That can go over there. I did unplug my glue gun, my glues earlier on. That, of course, does not mean that they're going to be usable now, because that's just life, isn't it? There we are. We'll just add a little bit of that onto there. Helps the slide make it a bit. And now I can align this up onto there. Okay, cool. So that's cool. So I've got a nice baggy pocket, intentional, and a big flap to put on, and then we'll do some decorating, and then we'll think about what we're going to put on the inside of here. So let's just pop a piece of that up there. We will cover most of this with glue because it's going to be easier. That piece can go down there. That piece can go there. We'll stick a big piece in the middle, and then we're going to pop some glue on the rest of these because it's going to be quicker than going all the way around with masses and masses of red liner tape and having 3,000 different pieces of that top tape. I never rely completely on tape when I'm working with something that I want to last. Because it just doesn't work. The tape dries out over time, and even if it is meant to be a long-lasting tape, it's just never quite as good. So I will just shove the whole mountain of that onto there, around there. That of course is going to seep out everywhere as we go. That can sit onto there, that can sit there, and then I can align this up with the bottom. Make sure it's lined up nicely on my cover. There we are. Do I want that completely like that? No, I'm just going to, there we are. That. So let's just give this all a nice rub down. So that can go there, that can go there, that can go there. I'm just going to realign that a little bit because it's a bit wonky, a bit baggy, and that's my own fault, I think, for having not got it directly in place. So I now want this to act as a flap and to hold in place a little book long term, and I'm aware that those two don't quite match. And excuse me, just while I do a little bit of pleating, because that's going to irritate the hell out of me and it's not going to be visible, I'm just going to, because it's not sitting flat, and I can sort that out just with a little bit of a smidge of an overlap. There we are. It's going to work and sit flatter for me. And it is only a millimetre out, but it's enough to drive me mad. The white tool is a bone folder, Elizabeth. There we are. So that is less baggy than it was. Woohoo! So now then, what do we have here? Right, excellent, 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 excellent. 2 pieces for that, and I need to pop a little magnet underneath here. So let us just grab some magnets, you see, pop that onto there, pop a piece of tape onto there. It's a bone folder, it's made from Teflon rather than bone. They're just a bit easier to utilise. That slip it really isn't going to be a problem, not that I made there, because look, she says let's just pick up that mess because it's going to be every which way. See, glue everywhere. Upside down, and let me clear the mess up. So if I hadn't measured it exactly right, I wouldn't have needed to do that little bit slit, but hey ho. So let's just pop that into there, pop that into there, pop that there. Right, so that's fine. I can pop a magnet there, and if it's full, I've got such a lot big room with that pocket, I'm not going to worry. I think about putting a second one on there, so then we can just add our pretty paper onto there quite happily. So there we are, we'll just add a little bit so that can go into there neatly. We'll just pop that into there. That's looking tons better from already from doing that. And now we have some little pieces to add. So these are, this is just black card that I have cut, that for me is going to work. So there we are. Let's just add a little bit of glue onto there. That piece is going to go onto there. This piece is going to go onto that. We're just going to minimise the amount of space between the magnets and the there we are. Okay. So that can go there. That can go over there. Hi Anya, welcome. Welcome. So let's just take a little bit of things. Now, if anyone didn't see Anya's recent make using Stamperia papers, then I think it is well worth it. So that is going to sit onto there. That will pick that up, and now I can cover that magnet just with a single layer of paper. Anya did a beautiful sea theme with the Sealand collections and the sea houses mould, and it's truly beautiful. It'll be posted on her page. I know it's also posted on the, there we are. So that can go into there, and I can then either tuck that into there, but that's not the plan. My plan is actually to attach this onto the back of here. So, okay. So with a bit of clever cutting of the papers, I've got both of my little mice on display for the front of here. There we are. And you could, if you wanted, sandwich the two through. But there we are. I'm going to pop that onto there. We will have to cut another piece of paper for. No, we won't. We've got that. So I've got a mucky bare end there. So I've just got another. These are scraps of paper. So we'll just add that onto here, which will decorate that flap and make it more robust in the process. And then I can pop that onto there. That's going to sit there. That's going to sit there. So I just need a little bit of glue here. There we are. That can sit there. That can sit there. That can sit there. And by not gluing the whole of this piece down, I've created myself a little tuck spot for putting stuff into. There we are. Let's just give that a little bit of a wipe. Let's find a set of baby wipes that might actually be wet. It would be helpful. It would be helpful. Sort of now we've got in a party with the size of mine. Cool. I'll just grab that. It's going to make life easier. So give that little push, that little push, that little bit. There we are. So that's going to act as my flap. I've got the words there from that there. So we're going to fill in these spaces again. And then we'll worry about what we're going to pop in the inside in a minute. There we are. So we've just created ourselves a little pocket, and I can choose to go with this side, or I can go with that side. So we're going to go with that. Let's take that out of the way because you can't see what I'm doing. Let me just move this down here a little bit. This is the problem when you're working with bigger pieces. There we are. And just put it on the wonk for the time being, and it's not going to matter. There we are. You're welcome, Anya. Your work is beautiful. Your work is absolutely beautiful. And you don't need masses of glue, but you do need enough. Let's pop that onto there. Did I not cut that properly? I clearly have cut it that way. Okie dokie. So it's that way because it's not quite square. There we are. We'll get it in so it's reasonably even. Take your time. There we are. Okay. So I now have a nice pocket, and need a scrap to put onto here, so which I haven't pre-cut, which is fine because I've got lots of pieces here that I can use to fill up this gap. So I think I'm going to use this. So that needs to be, she says, thank you. Well, the joy of a complete collection. So that is that's the spine is 1.5. So I'm going to go 1 1/4 by 9 3/4, and that will give me just a nice piece to go into there. So 1 1/4. 9 3/4, and hopefully, because no trim is exactly straight, that will work, and that can go into that. And the joy of double-sided papers is I can choose that or I can choose that, and actually I think I'm going to choose that piece because it's more in keeping with that paper. So you can do this with any, as long as you've got coordinating papers, a pack of 12 by 12s and a pack of 8 by 8s. You can make this with any Stamperia collection you want. You just need to make sure that you've got the required amount of room. And if you've got a 12 by 12 collection that has more than 10 pages in it, then use that. You don't need to have the 8 by 8s as well. So there we are. That can go there, that can go there, that can go there, and we're going to do the bit for the inside, so that can go on the floor. And we're going to have to do some cutting and some messing for these. So I have taken basically a piece of A4 card. It is cut to 8 1/4 inches by 8 3/4 and scored at 5 3/4, just to be difficult. Okay, so that's just good, but this is going to allow me just to put this together to create a collection of pockets and pages that will concertinas together. So one whole piece of card, let me reinforce this. So essentially A4 card folded in half. Yeah, A4 card folded in half, A4 card folded in half, and a piece cut off to create my flap, and I'm going to create myself a pocket. So I'm going to close the pocket at the side with a piece of tape. There's lots of ways of making pockets and making concertina albums to create either pages with pockets or pages without pockets. So doesn't really matter, does it? There we are. So I'm going to pop this onto here, line those up. But if I don't put an extra piece of tape here, then things tend to go a bit saggy and a bit wobbly. So that's fine. And we'll create the pockets as we go. So that's going to create me a little thin pocket. It's not, we'll hold a couple of pieces of paper, we'll hold a photo mat, but it's not going to hold masses, but it's just going to give me enough. There we are. Where's that? Everything just went quiet. I was concentrating, Martin, because I always have to think twice when I'm doing this. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. As long as you just add, you're conscious that you're adding the flaps to make a pocket. We can vary it up if we need to. If we make a mess of it, it's also not a problem. So let me just line these 2 pages up nicely. That's lined at the bottom, that's lined at the top. There we are. That piece can go over there. Okay. And I want another piece that's going to give me a pocket this way. So we're going to repeat the process. So I've kept that. You could carry on, you could add more layers to this quite happily, you know, add as many flips and flaps as you want, vary them around. For those of you that have seen the vintage library, this is essentially what I did, just layering them slightly differently for the different pages and the different inserts. So just have the courage to play with what you're doing. So I tend to use, this is 213 but 260 but might be better. 300 is definitely too thick. The white cardstock I actually have on the table is watercolour card, so it's quite thick, and I use that a lot for my photo mats, but that's just my preference. And again, 260 will work fine. If you're adding it as a photo mat, then 213 will work, or yeah, because it's not holding any weight at all with what you're doing. So there we are. Let's just line that up, line that up, line that up. So we're not going for complicated. There we are. So I now have a concertina piece with flat pieces on one side, if I open it that way, and pockets here and flat pieces. So I've created myself an insert that will then hold lots of different papers. And now we have to think about how we're going to decorate it, because I didn't think that one through. Well, I hadn't actually thought that through, because I didn't really need to, because I've got lots of spare pieces and I've got lots of additional pieces. So this piece now is 5 3/4, so I need pieces that are 5 1/2 wide by, conveniently, because that's 8 1/4, 8 inches tall, and that means that I can use the whole length of one of my papers, and it's going to fit nicely with a little edge around it. Okay, so 5 3/4, and if we want at this point, we can start adding flips and flaps on top of it. So 5 3/4. Yeah, and I've got a little piece of waste here, so let's just pop that onto there. That's going to fit under there. I'm just going to take just a tad off that. So I'm just going to take off 1/8 of an inch, because it's going to sit better for me. There we are. So that was actually 5 1/2 for 5 6 16. Yeah, just over 5 1/2. So here we are. But again, measure to use. If you're working in inches, you work in inches, and if you're working in centimetres, work in centimetres. So in the collection we have these the squares that come with the collection. So let's see what we can find and whether we've already used it. So I can pop that onto there, that way. When I open it, we're going to have the images that are the same. That's clearly going to be too big, so we're just going to score at 1 inch along there. Fold that over. Fold that over. So when you're doing this, just be mindful as the way it's going to look when it's opened out. Make sure that you have got your images at least up the right way. There we are. So that will go onto there, that can go onto there, that can go onto there, and I can add whatever I want onto there. And these don't need anything magic to hold them in place, that it's not thick. We'll have a little clear up and move some of this gubbins out of the way, because we've just got pages to cover, and that's fine. There we are. There we are. And now we can take a 5x7 photo mount and pop that into there. So let's just do these, build these pages one by one, so you can see what we're doing, using a very similar process and thought process to last week. I've got my rub-ons. Let me just pull these out of here. And I've got my stamp looking on the side, which is a Vicky Papino Create Happiness stamp from a while ago, and I've got my cut out pieces. So let's just, yeah, we're not going to be too mussy if we do this. Okay, let's just pop that over there, put that over there, stick that over there for the moment, and we're just going to add some detail. This is so that you can keep your album cohesive. Let's at least get the text up the right way. Nothing would be more frustrating, I think, than reading something that didn't have the text in it properly. Let's just add, there we are, and this is just the style that I like when I'm working. But if you don't have these pieces, then don't stress about it, don't worry about it. You know, it doesn't have to be added, does it? You know, you can leave the mats completely blank. I like adding the detail, but you know, it doesn't really matter. That can go there, that can go there, that can go there. Whichever style you choose to work with, just keep to it overall. And we'll centre that in there, over there. There we are. We can pop this into here. Now, if you wanted, you could make another flap, of course, with this. You could add, you know, or you could make this into a pocket. But sometimes life just gets too complicated, too busy, and actually you just have to be reasonable with what you've got. And I know I'm going to hide that. That's fine. So that can go there. That can go there. Let's just even you up and onto there. And now let's fiddle faggle this little lot of bits and pieces. So these are just die cut, fussy cut pieces from the collection, of which there were lots of them, lots and lots and lots. So let's just quickly sort out the words. There we are, because there's lots of words. And then we can have a little faff around. So here we are, we've got our little, that can go there and that can go there, and we don't really need to add an awful lot more, I don't think. And that can go into there like that, and that will work very nicely, just as a little bit of extra detail on this piece. Doesn't need much, but you can see how we're building our interest with what we're doing. So there we are. So pop that onto there. We'll add our, and this is about how to use up all the different bits that you've got, you know, in your collections, because if you're like me and you end up with orphan bits and pieces left at the end of a project, they just don't get used. So let's just pop him onto there and pop that onto there. And I'm keeping this relatively flat intentionally, because I am conscious, although I have built space into my pocket, it's not an infinite amount of space. So that completes page 1. There we are. Okay. So now we have 2 more pages to do. And I think that it's quite useful to have a trick as to what to do when you've not got full sheets of paper. So we're going to do this, decorate this slightly differently. That is clearly going to be too small. I do want it the length of the paper. Okay. So I am just going to chop this piece of paper into 2. So it's an 8-inch piece of paper. So we're going to chop it at 4 inches. And that will work for me. And then we can have a slightly different layout for our next 2 pages. So there and there is where those are going to go. And you're thinking, really? Yeah. And we could do that and that. In fact, we might do that and that, because we're going to cover this up. But this again is quite a good way of maximising the numbers of pages and therefore the numbers of photo mounts that you can put in from the numbers of papers that you have in your kit, particularly when your base papers are not, Stamperia isn't, it doesn't have lots of papers. There we are, so that can go there. Pop that down there, give it a little massage, let it set down. Hopefully that this is refilled. And you see, I've long since stopped being too precious about we will have to revert to finding a different lot of glue in a minute, because this is going to do me head in. But there we are. Stick that into there, give it a little squeeze, hope for that. So I'm deliberately popping these 2 apart. So I've now got 2 base pieces from a single piece, 8x8 piece of paper, and that's fine. So I'm just going to pick up 2 more of these, which is that. There we are. And we're going to add some more of our text. We keep, and as I say, I'm doing this so that I've got my pieces all tied and logically working together, but obviously you don't have to. This is just my preference to have some cohesion to my projects. Okay, from there and there, and let's just see what we've got. I think we might just pop that piece up there. We could add more paper elements, but we're not going to be too fussed today. I've got lots of paper elements I can add. There we are. And let's just add one of those little mice from the collection. Down to here. There we are. That can sit down there. That can go onto there. So we've got 2 very simple photo mats, which we're going to pop on like so. And I quite often, when I'm doing this, like to offset them a little bit. So I might actually prefer it with the mouse down at the bottom and the flowers up at the top, and that will work for me. Absolutely, Martin, if you want to mix the 2 together, there is not a right or wrong. If you want to add book pages into your pieces, bits of ephemera, you know, what's the difference between a scrapbook and a junk? Scrapbooks generally are designed to hold photographs, so which is what, yeah, but and a junk journal can hold all sorts with lots of spaces for journaling. So yeah, no right, no wrong in any of this. So you can mix them all up. If I was doing a junk journal, I would probably sew in my signatures rather than having them glued like this, and I would absolutely leave out all of these photo marks, but I would put envelopes in, bits of lace, little doilies. You can put pockets in, you know, use up all the elements and pieces that you have. It's absolutely, again, isn't a right and isn't a wrong in any of this. So I've now got two very simple pages, but space for some nice big 5x7 photographs, and it just shows that you don't have to have everything really complicated. There we are. So we've got, so we, you know, I've got a lot of spaces here to cover, so that's fine. So I now want another piece of this, and when I run out of paper we'll know we're in touch, that we've been very generous. So that is 5 and just over. Right. Well, that was clever, wasn't it? She says. And let's just pop this back into place. If it popped out, it'll pop back in, won't it? There we are. Cool. Let's get rid of the sharp one. Let's just have, yeah, there we are. So we now know which ones we want. And we're aligning this up the correct way. So there we are. I might not be happy having thrown it on the, there we are, that's clicked back into place. And this gives me a little bit that I can fussy cut out. And I need another one for the other side. We might well do that at the same sort of distance, and that should give me, again, it gives me, when I'm cutting this, pieces that I might be able to use for other things. So there we are. We'll pop this down here, we'll pop that down there, we'll pop that into there, and we'll not throw that one on the floor this time. So there we are. I'm going to cover him anyway, so it doesn't really matter. There we are. So that's going to go there, that's going to go there. And what else can I do to create a different flap? Wow. You see, we've got the, oh, she says, throwing lots of bits on the floor. Because why wouldn't you throw stuff on the floor? Okay. So, now, I want a flap that is going to lift up. If I put my flap that way in, create my flap, and pop it in that way, my words are going to be upside down. So I'm not going to do that. For me, I am going to pop these. Now this one I can actually almost certainly take out most of that with clever folding. That's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem. Right, so let's just have a wee little look at how we're going to work this. So let's take these are from the paper collection, and we're just going to do it as my usual activity. I'm going to get rid of quite a lot, maybe not quite all of that, but that's not going to matter. Okay, so that can go there. So I'm just using what I have, but as I say, I'm thinking about the orientation of what I'm doing, when and how, so that my pieces don't end up with words upside down and back to front. Just make sure I have got all that all the way around the right way, so I have. So it's an easy way, easy way. So that can be approximately centralised in there. And each of these flaps allows you to put picture front and back if that's what you want to do, and or add words depending on what you're writing, memories, names, dates, places, times, whatever you want to pop in. Now I love this glue, but in that dispenser it's a pain in the proverbial because it's just too big. There we are. Centralise that in there. Centralise that in there. Don't scrunch that up because we don't need to. And there's a familiarity to everything. You'll see these tricks, these tips, the way I make these albums repeated. I use what I've got, rather than creating lots of space. It just gives me lots of tuck spots for photographs. Do I ever fill them? No. Just add lots of layers of interest, and I like them. Go into there, that can go there. Let's take those bigger pieces of paper and tuck them out of the way for the moment. Let's grab 2 more 5x7 pieces of paper. I've got more I can cut because I think I might need more, but that's fine. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, but here the interest is going to be along the bottom and the top and the corner, because that's where, let's get the words up the right way, the pieces stick out from the book. There we are. So and at this point we're beginning to just ever so slightly run out of bits and pieces. It should run out of bits and pieces. So you can see I've still got lots of fussy cut elements here, but that's fine. There we are. Into that corner. Hello Anthony, welcome to part 2 of my book. There we are, that can go there, and then let's take this other one and add it into there. Right, look, come side, just down there. Into there. There we are. That can go there. That piece can go in the bin. These pieces can then tuck into here. There we are. Put that into there. We did it. Really detail that into a smaller pot. My life would be much easier if I did. So that can then sit into there, slide over. So we've got a flap. We've got 2 half pages offset. We've got 2 flaps coming here. So we need another whole piece. So what did I do with the pad of paper? That is what I did with my pad of paper. So let's go. Half this. Just over 5.5. That can go there. That can go onto there. I'm going to take another of the square pieces. That one will work quite nicely, I think. So let's just pop that approximately into there. As I say, I've just taken these pieces and I've got, as I say, a fairly reasonable formula. So I'm just going to score them all at 1 inch. It just gives me enough tuck under room, lots of space for popping things in. There we are. You could be using tape, but actually this will work. The glue works, she says. That can go into there. There we are. The lovely Liz is going to be live in Journal-It, I think. Well, I didn't centre. I'm going to leave that off-centred because it doesn't actually matter. There we are. Put that there. Go into there. Let's take another 5x7. We are getting there. We has nearly got all the way around these. Let's just add a bit of this. So this is, when I'm looking at adding my stamping to here, because I've offset that up here, I'm going to line that up just like that. So my interest needs to be down here, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm going to add my stamping. It's just going to add that little bit of detail into there, and I think that I can now add my little mouse going the opposite direction. Just tuck it down into that corner. There we are. So once you've got a plan for these, or once you understand the processes and the flips and the flaps and the way I add them, it's easy to see how, with the Stamperia papers, you can repeat something that uses exactly the same sets of principles, flips, flaps, uses all of the pieces that that are in the collection. Because there's quite a lot of pages in the Stamperia collections that are actually not that helpful when you're trying to build up details. I'm going to line that with there, so most of that mouse is tucked there. And of course I can add what I want over there. Let's just straighten you up so that you look reasonably. Okay. So we now have 2 pockets to fill and some bits and pieces that we can use to fill them with. And because I've already glued these down, I'm going to have to be slightly careful with what I do here, but I could just put stuff on the pockets and then fill these pieces, and that's what I'm actually going to do because I think it's going to work better for me. So my pocket piece can be the same. There we are. Is it big enough? I think with a wing and a pram it might just be big enough to take, and I can chop down a little bit if I want to. So I want the whole of that onto there, and I've done it that way so I've got the imagery I want, and then I can cut this down just by marking it. And I know I'm going to end up with a thin slither there, but it doesn't actually worry me. She says if she'd cut it straight. Possibly have. So that's actually 3 and 4/8, 5/8. There we are. And let's go 3 and 5/8. That doesn't look, that looks way too big. 2 and 5/8 even. There we are. 2 and 5/8. So if you didn't want the black space, I'm not minded for the black space, because if you think about one of the other pages, I've got black space in, in that anyway around my photos. You don't need to worry. So that can go into there. That will decorate that nicely. Note to self next time: just get yourself out a bigger piece, a new lot of glue. There's still quite a lot in here. I don't really want to be waffling it yet. There we are. That can go onto there. That can go onto there. Okay. So we've got, I can now pop 1, 2. So those will get the same treatment. So that side's going to be out and that side's going to be out when they're tucked in. Yeah? So there is... Okay. So those are going to go like that. Those are going to go that. Where's them there ribbons? And then we can have a think about what we want to do. See, that's not going to work upside down, is it? It just isn't going to work. And we're beginning to run out of what I would call usable ribbon. Or usable for this project. Now, one thing I would say is that because the rub-ons are, let's just pop that onto there, will work on the black. I might add them into these pieces in a minute and show you how to deal with that. There we are. Let's just add that. There we are. And I can of course come back and add extra pieces as I want to. So let's just tuck Mr. Hedgehog down there. Right. So that is going to sit in there, and that is going to sit in there. So we've got some blank areas. Does it matter? Answer on a postcard: absolutely not. Okay. So let's just add deliberately taken half of that one off. Because these should still pop on black. So I can pop that onto there. And there we are. You see it? And we might then, so all I'm doing is just realigning this so that the top end looks nice. Yeah, so I'm not giving it a flat edge. I don't understand why that's appeared out of the middle of nowhere. Let me get rid of that. There we are. There we are. Let's take that out of there. And that piece can just sit up to there. And this is one of the joys of these rub-ons, is that because they are opaque, you can then add them onto black and add your interest. And I'm using pieces that I would other have sitting around and then never seeing the light of day. So by using them like this, I'm filling in the gaps, I'm adding interest to my pages. There we are. There we are. But I've got all sorts of little bits and pieces. So these all come out from the collection. So I can tuck these into here as I want to. Yeah? So I can tuck in some extra bits. There we are. So I've got some pockets that are reasonably full. I hope that hasn't stuck down. So let's just lid that, lid that, lid that, lid that. Take this and come back to our thing. So right back at the beginning, we made our pocket. I can now tuck, she says, having glued that down, but never mind. That can go into there. It fills that up. That will. I'm going to stick it on there. Honestly, it will. Okay, so that's now fairly full. Quite happily fairly full. Yep, that's done there. But if I want to add more, then let me just grab, I'm going to pop this piece onto there because I think it's going to add a little bit more interest onto that piece. And it's signposted somewhere else for writing. So that can sit into there. There we are. So I now have my folio with space for lots of pictures, concertinaed quite happily. There we are. That can go there, that can go there, that can go there, and I can tie this together now. Hi Pixie. Pixie Designs. I can't remember, Pixie, what your first name, your proper name is, so I apologise. Right, so now let us have a humongous clear down, because at the moment I think there's about 25 tons of gubbins on this desk. I don't have masses left from this. I can probably still add some more, but this is boring. Yeah, this is boring. Of course this is boring. So, right, so we go back 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I think I'm missing a mushroom. Aha, there we are. I knew I was missing a mushroom. So I'm going to build a scene based around the bottom of here. So let me just grab a piece of gauze. Excuse me, rubbing my nose, it's very inelegant. And let's just have a little bit of a shred of this. There we are. Make it all look a bit tatty. I don't think I want that piece. There we are. That can sit into there. That can sit into there, she says. So I got out all of these pieces because I have a plan. It's nice to have a plan, isn't it? So I've got title, and that can just go up there plain as. Doesn't need anything more complicated. It's just a word cut from the papers with a bit of an embellishment to go there. Yeah, that's going to sit better. Now these are chipboards, not ephemera, so they are not sticky back. So that can sit onto there, and I may or may not add that onto. I can't remember exactly where I put him. I have a plan. I had definitely had a plan for him. So I know that I'm going to add some of these down here. Yep. But I've got, as I say, these are chipboard pieces. I think I'm wanting to have him there, and I'm going to lift that up a little bit. So all I'm doing is now adding my pieces across here. So I've got those bits there, got that bit there. I'm wanting to add a little bit more because they're still a bit floaty in air. So now I can pop some of these pieces into here. There we are. We'll add that onto there. I think I'm probably not, I don't know, I may or may not add, I may or may not add, and we're just going to add a little bit there, and we've got some more paper pieces, and we've got another one of these, so that's just tuck that into there. Right, and then we can start to build a little bit of a story with our pieces. There we are. Right, add comes up. There we are. There we are. Okay. Yeah. There we are. So we're happy-ish. And then, of course, by the time you've faffed around and moved about, thank you, Patty. I shall endeavour to remember. I haven't got my hot glue gun on. That's fine. So I'm just going to pop him. So all I'm doing is building myself a scene around my focal imagery, which is why I chose that particular one in the first place. Okay, so let's pop that over there. And there are some more ephemera, so I could carry on and add more and more and more, but we're going to behave. I want my mouse to be poking out there. It's just a piece cut from the papers. Lots more. There are lots of these on the thing, so there we are. Let's just pop him into there. Right. Let's just take some heavy body gel and start to add these resin pieces. Don't want 3 tons of matte gel poking out the side because it won't look nice long term. That should clear some of these off. There we are. And we can start to gubbin some of this lot down. There we are. Right. And it won't, I'll never put them on exactly always in exactly the same place. It's just not going to happen. So let's just pop that down into there. That can sit down there. I think we're going to tilt him to cover that up. There we are. That can sit into there. That can go there. Actually, we're going to tilt it at that angle, and we'll tuck that one into there. There we are. Do I want that? Answer no. We'll pop that over there. We'll pop that over there. That can go into there. That can go into there. So we've got this, and we've got an area, and they're still all looking a little bit like too much like they're floating to my mind. So let's hope this one will work. Okay, so we have some 3D balls, so we're just going to pop these as if into here. Now I always start when I'm working with these with the bigger ones, because then you can fill in all the gaps with smaller ones later on. So use the big one, and I have some ultra fine somewhere. There we are. So we'll pop that into there. There we are, and those are the small. And then we're just going to grab, I know it's in a different bag, but this is actually the 3D powder in here, and it's the coarse 3D powder. And you're going to think, yeah, and a lot of that will fall off. There we are. But as my pieces aren't settled, I'm going to be very careful with how I tap that lot down. There we are. And I can still see some bits of glue there. So that lot, in a minute, is going to go into there. That can go there. And because I can see it, and because it's left over from the rub-ons, I've got a little butterfly here from the rub-ons. So I'm just going to tuck that up underneath there, because it makes sense to me. Just adds an extra layer of detail. There we are. She says, now she can't pick up the edge. There we are. Because it's underneath, that's more difficult. And we'll just see what else we've got lurking. We've not got very much left from our rub-on packets. We do have some bits of twiggery. That might work nicely onto there. Might be a bit thin. It might not, be so stable long term. But I think that will, I'll pop that into there to grab. We need a bit more glue. Let's just grab some heavy body glue. There's a second piece of that lurking, I can see somewhere around. So we're just covering up these edges basically. There we are. So we've got a stick on the ground. I think there's a smaller stick on the ground. There we are. So that can sit into there quite happily. We've got lots of different animals. So there is a little snail to tuck into there. What else have we got? There were very little of that left, very little of that left, very little of that left. And you know what? I'm going to call it a day at that, because I think we've got quite a lot of detail on the front of here now without needing to add any more pieces. So next weekend I will not be live, ladies and gentlemen, because I am teaching at a retreat in Thornton-Cleveland, so in the north of the UK, but we'll be back live the following week. I just now need to let that dry good and proper, and then I can photograph it. So I've got everything, as Anthony says, grounded into place on my piece. I've got a little scene, I've got a place to record my memories, and lots of spaces inside for photographs. So I hope that you've enjoyed the last 2 weekends, and I will be back live in a couple of weekends time. So ta-da for now.